gonna start.
It was apparently one of those fun situations. For some reason, the coffee machine was running more slowly than normal. So it was just finishing dripping when I went into the kitchen.
That high-speed Canadian coffee internet.
Yes. Yes.
So I'd like to start.
Thankfully, once it was actually done, it was pretty quick because I'm one of those horrible people who takes their coffee entirely black with nothing in it.
You mean the best people?
I suppose so. People frequently are like, how do you do that? That's gross. Then again, most of the people I know take like double or triple for their coffee. I suddenly don't hear anybody.
It appears that our GM is having a small bit of connectivity issues.
That is less than ideal.
Indeed. Yeah, it looks like they're not able to talk or anything of the sort.
Okay.
Let us have success.
So for today's session, I would like everybody to introduce themselves, maybe give a little history of their experience with L5R. For some of us, it will be shorter than others. My name's Chris. I've been playing L5R for like 2 years now. I love it. I haven't GM'd for like a year, but I'm back in it and hoping to have a good time with you guys. And we'll pass it to Jordan. Or whoever wants to talk.
I can go next. So this is my first time playing L5R. I've been interested in the game for about 2 years. I bought the handbook about a year ago, the 4th edition book. I thought it was probably the most beautiful role-playing book I've ever purchased. Read through it, thought it was like a little too much at first, and then I listened to some podcasts of it and was like, actually, no, this is pretty amazing, and I kind of get what he's doing and how it's this sort of really fully fleshed out world, and now I think it might be like one of my favorite role-playing games and worlds. And so yeah.
Sweet. What
so this is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What?
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
So even though this is my first time playing L5R, I've been role playing for like 18 years. Started in high school. I've ran games. I've played in games. Yeah.
Cool. So what'd you like about L5R basically? What was it that?
I think that just the kind of fleshed out culture and society is really cool. I like how I'm sort of anti Dungeons and Dragons, which is sort of annoying because everywhere there's Dungeons and Dragons. Like if you're looking to play a role playing game, that's sort of the game people play. So I like how L5R sort of stands in opposition to that. Like there are no dungeons. Like the combat is meaningful and short, and deadly. It's sort of like the opposite of Dungeons and Dragons in that way. And then I like games with politics as well. So I like that there is a court element to it.
Well, cool. Hopefully I'm able to scratch one of those itches for you. All right, who'd like to go next?
I can go next if you'd like.
I'd love that.
Hi there, my name is Jordan. I'm going to be playing Isawa Shujinko, a fire Shugenja. I've been playing L5R on and off for the last 8 years or so. I've been role-playing quite a bit longer than that. I got my start off with some of the most cringy role-playing campaigns ever when I was 10 years old on Yahoo chat forums. And I went play-by-post for a while. Yeah, man, it was bad. I thought that it was great, though, when I was 10 years old. But if I looked back at it, I would probably be just completely embarrassed. But yeah, I did a bunch of play-by-post role-playing for a long time, and I first officially got into D&D when I got them as pretty much all the books for the 3rd edition when I was 14 years old or so. I ran a couple of games, nothing too serious, and when I was 17, I met some really good GM and his wife, and they introduced me to L5R. Played 2 campaigns over the course of about 3.5 years with them. And, life sort of happened, and I had been out of role-playing for a long time, and just recently I've started playing L5R again. I'm actually involved in 2 other campaigns right now, and I've just been having such a fun time of it. I'm really looking forward to seeing how your Rokugan plays out.
Very cool.
I suppose it's off to me now. I'm Ken. I'm currently playing Asako Hiroshi, a Isawa Shugenja who is an Ishiken. I got into L5R. Oh god, I'm terrible with the passage of time. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. I ran through a few campaigns, couple with Chris. That were great. Played everything from a Yasuki courtier who was a bushi somehow, to a really nasty Bayushi courtier, to a Shosuro infiltrator, and various things in one-shots. Again, usually with Chris, who... There appears to be some sort of curse associated with Chris in one-shots, where every other one happens to work, and the other one, I'm the only one that shows up. As far as general tabletop experience, I first got into 3.5 D&D in my first year or second year of university. Actually, probably second, come to think of it. Played some Pathfinder, played some... No, I never actually got to play Shadowrun. Just several abortive campaigns that died before they started. Some Star Wars, the... which one was it? Sagas, I think? And a few other things.
Is that the Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars?
Yeah, I think that's the Fantasy Flight one. No, wait. We started on the Fantasy Flight one, but then the GM didn't like the custom dice thing, so we switched to a different system.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's me.
And if you like L5R, but you don't like Fantasy Flight Dice, well, that's unfortunate. Cool. Then with that, we'll go ahead and get started. As I read a small intro that I wrote myself.
Excellent.
So, is the year 482, 40 years since the brave samurai of Rokugan drove off the vile Gaijin. Ooh, that's a bad sentence. 40 years since the brave samurai of Rokugan drove off the vile Gaijin. Past the horizon, Empress Retsuhime, more properly known as Hantai the Ninth, rules atop the Jade Throne with a gentle hand and has been since her mother died in the Battle of the White Stag. Under her, the empire has grown prosperous and enjoys an overall sense of peace. Your grandparents' hard-earned victory earned your parents a life of ease in the post-war Rokugan. The clans still fight and rivalries flare up from time to time, but it seems as a whole the empire has been blessed with having lived in uninteresting times. To the south, the horrors of the Shadowland lay quiet. The crab enjoy this respite and do what they always do in times of peace, wage war on the crane. The lions stand at their most brilliant, acting as the stewards of the Kirin lands as well as their own. They protect almost a third of the land in Rokugan. The crane fled the courts of the Empress to try to stop the Crab clan's aggressions, but Emerald Champion Hida Shinkichi seems unwilling to intervene. Then to the north, the peaceful Phoeni-X clan maintains their land loyally, and it's in those lands that we shall be having the upcoming sessions. So it is time to hit my keyboard with my knee. It's springtime in Rokugan. The winter has just thawed, and Winter Court has adjourned. And with it, many samurai in the country of Rokugan have gotten new postings thanks to their relatives, courtiers acting in their interest during this year's Winter Court. And so a few such samurai who have enjoyed the good fortune of such appointments are here today. So let's go down how I have it on these character sheets. Ken, will you introduce everybody to Yurasako? Please. All right, Jordan, would you like to introduce us to your character?
Certainly. Isawa Shujinko is a fairly portly samurai. There's not many fat ones, but he happens to have quite a bit of a belly. Certainly a side effect of spending much of his time studying. He seems like the type of person whose mind is always off in thought, elsewhere from the current situation. But somehow he manages to remain quite perceptive. He has shoulder-length black hair, which he usually keeps the back in a top knot and lets the sides fall down. And he wears the colors of the Phoeni-X quite proudly. He also clearly does not carry any katana or anything of the sort, just his wakizashi to denote that he is of the samurai station. And he also happens to have a scroll satchel set gently on his hip. He generally seems rather calm and distant. He doesn't seem to, be overly intense or anything of the sort. Just a typical looking Shugenja who happens to have a bit of a weight problem.
Very nice. Can we get an introduction for Isawa Tasai?
Sure. I'm small, approximately, I imagine 5'6", about 150 pounds. I'm trying to close some tabs here. I proudly wear the Phoeni-X clan colors with Amon displaying my clan and family in school. I have dyed blonde hair. It's somewhat wavy and pulled back into a ponytail. And I have my, how do you say it, daisho?
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a yari on my back. I believe that's what it was. It's like a spear.
Yeah, yari.
Yeah. And that's it. And strangely enough, I have although I probably wouldn't be wearing this now, but if it's with me, it would be a set of light armor in lion colors.
Hey.
That's it.
Oh.
Very nice. And Ken, now will you do it?
I assume that the fact that you just responded to me means that my mic is working again now.
Perfect.
Yes.
Or not?
Yeah, you're working.
Can you hear me?
It's working.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you put up your input though? I can barely hear you.
That's Strange. My mic is acting very strange all of a sudden. Anyway, so Asako Hiroshi is a rather small-sized man. He's not really short to the point that it would be considered short, but he is kind of on the border there. And he's extremely skinny and lithe. He's got a long, thin face, not gaunt at all, just skinny. The most noticeable thing, if you look at him, is he's got very, very, very black. His irises are not really distinguishable from his pupil. He's also quite pale. His hair is very neatly tied back. He's dressed very tidily, but it's not fancy. His parents were both Henshin monks. He hasn't seen them in years, though. His powers began manifesting at the age of 8 or 9. And, like is very common with Ishiken, the Isawa king took him away.
Alrighty, very nice. So you all have been appointed as magistrates of the Phoeni-X clan. The offices of the magistrates are Office 1, 2, and 3 take care of Kyuden Asako, Kyuden Isawa, and Shiro Shiba. Then Offices 3 through 4 take care of the various provinces across the lands. And then from there we've got 24 other offices who take care of more and more specific crimes, from murder to like wildlife charges, until Office 34 is the Asako Inquisitors, who take care of the taint and all Shadowland inquiries in the land, until finally at the very end we have Office 34 located in Kyuden Isawa, which under its charter officially takes care of miscellaneous. And so that's where we find ourselves today, in this here Kyuden Isawa.
I did have a question about Office 34.
Yes, sir.
What is like the general reputation of the office? Yeah, I'm just wondering, because like, you know how in X-Files, like the X-Files were sort of this, you know, they were like tucked away in a basement, and they were kind of ridiculed maybe by like the rest of the FBI. Yeah,
of course. They actually have a pretty good reputation. They're not above any of the other offices, but most magistrates have to report to like the magistrates that act as judges. But you guys report directly to the vice chief magistrate, basically. So you guys are actually quite well respected because you're just that close to the top, basically.
Okay.
And so that's the office that you're going to. If you look on this beautiful Kyuden Isawa picture, your office is right there. Boop. Which is directly off of, that's where all the little baby Shugenja live before they get to like an old enough age where they can move into the Isawa dojo proper. So you get your magistrate's tower is directly connected to that, which is very fun.
So we're basically daycare.
Basically, yes. The rumor is that the towers put that closely to it because that's basically where they practice their prayers and stuff and don't really learn spells. So the tower's next to that because all these Shugenja practicing prayers will hopefully keep any evil spirits away that you guys attract in your courses of study.
Smart.
Very smart. So last year, for various reasons, the whole of Office 34 retired from their duties and moved on with their lives. So a fresh crop of candidates was brought in. Can I get just a brief description of how your characters, came to join the office, how they were invited in, if their relatives pulled some strings. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I imagine my grandfather would have pulled strings for me.
In my case, my Hiroshi is, despite the fact that his master and everything being Isawa, intends to avoid Ishikan being quite rare. Obviously, the Isawa are very much wanting him to keep close to them. He personally wants to be closer to his own Asako family, and he ended up catching the eye of an Inquisitor.
And they were like, hey, this dude's cool. Very good. Was that everybody?
Oh, hey, Jim, can we go behind the Shoji screen real quick? I actually have a question about that.
I thought you would. Okay. Yo, what's good?
Okay, so for those who are listening to the recording, my character actually has some pretty shady connections with a certain secret organization that wants to bring about democracy. So my question would be, typically Shujinko actually is an incredibly good investigator and good at tracking people, good at hunting. He's kind of a rarity amongst the Shugenja. That alone would more than likely be enough to get him a letter of recommendation from his sensei, along with a couple of pull on the strings. I was thinking that maybe his contact, his sponsor, if you would, maybe pulled a couple of strings to make his name go to the top of the pile, essentially. But the cover story is ostensibly he was written a letter of recommendation by a sensei, and his parents happened to pull a few strings as well.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, gotcha. Back to General.
All right.
Jun Asako.
Okay, so ostensibly what occurred is that Shujinko is a bit of an oddity for Shugenja. He is incredibly focused on his studies and learning about literally anything that he can get his hands on. Now, it's driven him to spend most of his time, even when he is not studying or supposed to be studying, even during his free time, he was constantly reading more and more about everything. He learned to kind of have an analytical mind through all of his reading, and his father also happened to teach him hunting and wrestling and so on and so forth early on. So he was chosen for his unique set of skills and written a letter of recommendation by a sensei, and with a little help of his father, who happens to be an Isawa Shugenja, he pulled some strings and happened to get his son into a favorable position. Because, what's good for the family, but having a really high rank, a really nice, delightful position.
Perfect.
Suppose I should have actually picked a icon, shouldn't I?
I suppose so. But now you are just one of the faceless ninjas of the nothing.
Oh boy.
I am the void itself.
So with the start of spring, you were all given your new assignments by your various lords. You were taken to Kyuden-Isawa, the capital of the Phoeni-X lands. It is our Bushi of the group's really going to enjoy being here because there's 4 different libraries in the castle, so it's a very, very exciting opportunity to learn. Starting Glory? I have no idea.
Also, for the record, I should bring it about that my character has a compulsion to visit every library he happens to pass. I have to make a willpower roll every time. But I just wanted to bring that up so people know why I'm rolling willpower when we walk past libraries.
Oh, that was you. I thought,
I'd have it too.
I was
You both have
to
it.
do something like that, but I ended up not doing it.
Perfect. So yeah, both of you have a great thirst for knowledge.
I also have a compulsion of knowledge as well. So if I study any new topic, no matter what the topic happens to be, I gotta look into it a little bit, you know? I gotta figure out what it's all about. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna use it, of course. I just need to have the information. If it's there, it needs to be used somehow.
Definitely. So the three of you are waiting outside your own personal magistrate's tower for the arrival of Sako-jin, who will be your leader for today. So would you three of you trade your introductions between each other in character while you wait?
Greetings. I am Isua Tasai. Also, you would probably, I assume everyone would know this, that it's common knowledge, but Isua Tasai, name of the Master of Fire.
Yeah, big name.
Greetings, Isawa-san. I am Isawa Shujinko. It is a pleasure to meet you here. Tell me, have you heard much about this office and what we will be expected to do? I'm quite eager to get started upon our duties.
Not much more than rumors, I'm afraid. I understand that this is the miscellaneous office, so I don't know what that entails.
Indeed. I have some questions about it as well.
What?
And then Shujinko will look over within the direction of Asako-san and then give a polite bow and say, "Greetings, and who are you?"
I am Hiroshi of the Asako family.
And that's all she wrote.
Would I or would we know anything more about this office?
No, it's pretty DL.
Okay.
So you guys were discussing that with yourselves, and jogging up the hill comes a very eager-looking young man, beautiful, shining eyes. He looks like he just passes Genpuku. He runs up to you guys and he bows deeply. He's like, "Oh, forgive my tardiness. I am Shiba Umbayashi. I will be another member of this office. It's an honor to meet all of you." He bows to each person individually. Have I missed our orientation?
Sako does a polite bow.
And he gives everybody a bright smile and falls into whatever formation you guys had going. And then shortly after his arrival, Janasako arrives. And when you guys heard that this office was like led by an Asako, you were like, "Yes, I love Asakos. They're all so friendly, very bookish people." So when this guy comes trudging up the hill, you know, you're a little disappointed. He's he's pretty a tired looking man. He's middle-aged, but he looks like he's about to die. He looks like he might be terminally ill. He sort of lumbers up the hill. He's very fit. He's a big guy. He's definitely larger than a courtier has any right to be, but there you go. He's busy himself looking at a scroll as he walks. He's got no free time to even walk. He's got to use that productively. So as he comes here, he stands before you for a few seconds, finishes reading whatever line he does, and then rolls it up and stores it in the sleeve of his plain-looking kimono. And he says, "Greetings. I am Asako-jun. Is everybody assembled?"
how many have been posted to this office.
Well, if it's you four, then it's four. And he'll walk past you guys and slide open the door to the magistrate tower and head inside.
I will bow, because I believe that's what I would do, right? So I'll bow deeply
Yes, sir.
before going in.
I would also
through
bow
the
deeply
door.
whenever he came up, and
Right.
after they open the door and go in, I would respectfully follow.
So the first floor of the magistrate's tower is your own personal little library, basically. Shelves are currently empty. There are no files on record in this magistrate tower at the moment. And he stands before the empty bookshelves, and he clears his throat. He says, "All right, Office 34 is my own personal group of magistrates. I handpick all the cases that you'll be going on. They're at my leisure. The magistrates of Office 34 do not engage in any private investigations, any off-the-book sort of things. All cases will be handled by myself or by the Honorable Asako Yuri. While I am the person directly in charge of this office, it ultimately falls under the purview of the head magistrate, Asako Yuri. She's not often in Asako or Kyuden Isawa, but when she is, she may deign to stop in to check on your progress. When she is in Kyuden Isawa, you do not approach her. You do not ask her for advice on cases. You do not suggest cases. You do not request any assistance on cases. If she wishes to speak to you, she will come to this tower. Otherwise, you are not to bother her in any way. Any and all questions about cases and the operation of this office will be handed directly to me. Any questions?
No, sir.
Excellent. And he heads upstairs. And upstairs is kind of your own little weird laboratory, whatever you want to think of it as. This is like the mission control for Office 34. Right now it's pretty empty, but basically this has everything that you guys need to, send like messenger pigeons out to retrieve people's files or do research on various criminal activities. It's your crime lab. It's where you have your conspiracy board connecting all the men in smoke-filled rooms to the aliens.
As we're heading upstairs, I would like to ask a question.
Proceed.
Respectfully, trying to scroll to this guy's name, Asako-san. What happened to the other magistrates in this office?
Oh, sorry, I was reading something. He looks over at you, eyes dead as a doornail. He's like, officially they all retired from their duties after a particularly trying case.
Then there is an unofficial narrative.
Unofficially, they all died on a case.
May I ask the nature of the case?
You may not. Unfortunately, the nature of this office means that all prior cases are kept in the library on the grounds and are restricted unless given access to. In other words, confidential.
A question, Asako-sama.
Proceed.
Forgive me, but there are many rumors surrounding Office 34, but I have yet heard no definitive facts. What is the nature of the work that we will be doing here?
Mainly, we investigate matters concerning other spirit realms. All except for Jigoku. And we also, basically anything that can't be explained, we investigate. It doesn't have to be crimes or people in danger. It can be natural phenomenon that occur, and you guys are sent on the scene to investigate it. And if for any reason the Asako Inquisitors are unable to take care of a case, we also take some of their caseload.
Would it be safe to say then that due to the nature of our tasks, we must exhibit discretion about what our cases may be?
Indeed, extreme caution. Anybody who's not an asset to your case or the work should be oblivious to your case or the work.
I see. I have no more questions, Asako-sama.
All right, he'll take you back down the stairs. That was basically. He had nothing to say about the upper floor, just telling you that this is where your equipment will be. You have the full support of the magistrates behind you, so if you have to requisition anything, not an issue. And so as you guys head downstairs, there's 4 bushi, I guess not bushi, 4 samurai waiting down there at the bottom. They're the ones at the very bottom of the ring here, and they all bow to you. He gestures towards them. He says, "These are your yoriki. They'll be taking care of the day-to-day operations in the tower and doing any dredge work for you, basically." And they all bow. They are Shiba Warabi, Asako Hako, Shiba Shinji, and Isawa Tao. These are basically the Ivy League kids who are doing their internship so they can get a good placement in future operations. Shiba,
I will bow respectfully to each in turn.
They all bow twice as low to you. You may have heard of Shiba Warabi. She was a Topaz champion of the last season. Very proud of her. Honored to have her choose our office for her first placement. He gestures to there's a door off in the corner, and he says, "Down that way is the magistrate's tower's prison, where you can incarcerate whoever you see fit. Also living down there is a family of Eda, so don't be too shocked when you go down there and find those things living there."
Gotcha. And quick question. So, about the detainment, we're doing the typical Rokugan rules, correct? Where we can detain basically anybody of lesser or equal status than us, but if it's somebody of higher status than us, we need to have something resembling evidence, which in Rokugan is a person of high status saying, "Hey, yeah, that guy's not doing the right thing."
That's correct.
Gotcha.
And
Or
go ahead.
is it possible to have like a warrant or a writ that would let us?
Yeah, basically warrants are people of high authority saying it's all right for you to arrest someone of lower authority. So, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Um, he looks like he's given you enough time of his day. So yes, are there any final questions before I go to my next meeting?
Yes, one more, Asako-sama. What is our first case?
And he allows himself a slight smile as he out from his sleeve pulls out case number 1. Boop. And case number 1 should be in your case file part of the handouts.
Okay.
So he hands you a nice scroll with the symbol of your office stamped onto it, and he says all your information should be in there. Until you return from the case, wish you a good day. Gives everybody a bow, and good hunting.
Gotcha. Isawa Shujinko will bow deeply as well, and then start looking over the case file.
I'll bow appropriately as she or he leaves, rather. I believe it's a he.
It's a he, yes. He's a he. And would anybody care to read out the little blurb that I have for you?
Oh, here, I'll go ahead and do that. In this, case number 1, Office 34, appointed by Assistant Chief Magistrate Asako Jun. Danger, low. Chance of escalation, low. In the southern lands of the Phoeni-X territory, the prominent Isawa Ikirako has reported something culling her herds of livestock. It started with a few sick and old cow before it moved to healthy dairy cows, a bull, and then one of her ponies. She requests aid from magistrates as she fears these attacks are building up to an assault on her prized crab pony.
And you can feel the entire room visibly deflate as your first case is investigating dead livestock.
Cattle mutilation. Yeah.
Yep.
Shujinko does not deflate. Rather, he looks slightly emboldened. He nods and then says, while not a most illustrious first assignment, it is still our duty to execute this to the finest of its capabilities. Let us see here. And he'll turn to each of the Yoroki in turn, and then nod, and then say, forgive me, but I am unaware of what your capabilities happen to be. I can see that some of you are bushi by the weapons that you hold, but he'll turn to Asako Hako and Isawa Tao specifically, and then ask, what is it that you were able to do for us? Where were you trained?
So yeah, the two Shibas are more or less security and operations managers for any Hinen that come in. Asako Hako is your librarian, basically. She's very good at research and talking to other departments for sharing files and stuff like that. So she'll do stuff like that. Isawa Tao, magical research, obviously. They're basically there for when you're like, all right, 12 people have died. I need files on every one of them, and like for you to find any similarities between them. That's like what their job is, basically.
Okay, gotcha. Shujinko will turn to Asako Hiroshi, then Isawa Sai, and then say, I believe that we do not need to escalate and have a full force sent out there to deal with this. I believe that the 4 of us should be able to do this without much issue. Would you not agree?
I concur.
Seems most.
And Chiba nods as well.
It could be, it's very likely that a simple description present here, that it could be as simple as a wolf from the forest.
Very well could be. And so with that, you guys will head up to your crime lab, basically. And as you'll see on the document, there's various skills laid out. That's for your pre-case information, basically, that you guys are assembling before you go into this.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so basically, if we pass those, we're able to get some additional information on the case, basically.
Yes, sir. So if anybody would like to make any of those rolls, feel free.
Gotcha.
The only
Let's
one
see.
likely to be
Hunting roll was 21.
Okay, very, very good. It's on the southern border of it's near Toshiramba, basically, near that area. You know, this is the Phoeni-X land, so they have especially that far down south, they have a very low, carnivorous predator rate in that area. So close to the crane land, so you think it's unlikely that it will be a wild animal.
I could do the battle roll.
Okie doke.
I think I have okay etiquette also. So
I also have etiquette. I also have lore everything, so I'm gonna give a shot at that lore heraldry one right there.
Yeah, I don't have
probably are
that.
the most competent at that.
because I could also do my I could blow some void points on the etiquette roll.
You know, just because Isawa Shujinko is incredibly, desperate to make a good first impression, I'm gonna go ahead and spend a void point on this lore roll because I don't have that good of a roll.
Okie doke. Very well.
I'm gonna go ahead and use one of my luck points because I also have an advantage called luck. I have 2 ranks in it, so I'm gonna go ahead and use one of my luck rolls to re-roll that roll.
Okie doke. Hey, there we
That was a
go.
lot better.
It was a little hard to find as you're going through the library and finding information on this particular Isawa. And you find out why in a moment as you're about to give up, and then you bump the scroll rack and one falls over into your hands, and by gum, there it is. Isawa Ikirako was she used to be a Ronin, and she was a very talented Shugenja, talented enough that she got, brought into the Phoeni-X clan, and then, through many long years of service, managed to distinguish herself enough to get her own little slice of land. So she's a very affluent Shugenja in the area. She's very famous for being a tutor because she was a Ronin. She had her own style of magic use, basically, and so she accepts a lot of Shugenja from other clans to come learn from her. Partly because she's pretty good and her own techniques pretty cool, but also because a few generations from now, when they're trying to get trained in the Isawa style, they're like, look, we were trained by an Isawa a few generations back, so there's precedent.
Neato.
How did you add the void points?
It's just you add a 1, keep 1.
Oh, okay. So I will now. So my 20 was the battle roll.
Sweet.
And I will now roll the etiquette.
Also, real quick question: can we each individually roll for these in case one of them fails? Because I have etiquette that I could roll as well in case this doesn't go through.
I like the idea of each person individually being in charge of their own little research section.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Echo's
Boy,
a 20, right?
I've been effective this session so far.
So for the battle roll,
How come I didn't do that right? Because that should have kept the two of the threes. So that should be a 30. Because I spent 2 void points on that roll.
You still smash it pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you also raise like the keep by 2?
I think I did.
Well, unless
Yeah, I
your air is a 1, I don't think you did. So I think you just increased your keep by 1.
I'm looking at it and it says keep +2 keep 2, roll 2. But anyway, it would have been a 30.
Oh,
so.
if you didn't click outside the box after adjusting, it's bad at keeping track. It doesn't actually change it until you click outside.
I bet you that's what I did. I bet you that's what happened.
Yeah, that sounds about right. For the battle roll, you know that this province is near the border, especially near the border of Toshi Grambo, and that's where bandits and Ronin like to hang out. So, where Isawa suggested that probably wasn't wildlife that was taking them down, you're suggesting that it's very likely it could be bandits or, a marauder of some kind that's hopping across borders or something. And for your intelligence etiquette roll, you managed to actually track down the paper trail for this particular case file, and it actually wasn't even submitted to. It was just submitted to like the province magistrate's office, and then Asako Gen like plucked it from there and told the province not to handle it and gave it to you guys. So this is actually like it was the magistrate of the town asked for help from the province, and so this is like a low tier provincial magistrate job, and it's very odd that you guys are being sent to handle it.
After Shujinko does the research and whatnot, he'll relay all the information to everybody, of course, and then I assume that we're relaying all the information that we find, correct?
I hope so.
Right.
Well, Sawa-san, with your knowledge that bandits happen to be in the region quite frequently, it may be wiser to bring some of our Yoroki with us. Would you not agree?
I think you may be correct. It is better to be safe than sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm done. You can go. Out of character, what is a crab pony?
It's just until like 400 years from now, when the unicorn returned to the empire, it's like the biggest horse in the empire. So they're under the illusion that a crab pony is like a real horse.
Okay.
It can like walk a few miles if you're in armor, which is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, I believe that we should take Shiba Warabi and Shiba Shige with us in order to potentially have to arrest or eliminate a bandit incursion. However, I do not believe that we should come to any conclusion until we can get there and do an investigation. Out of character question, are we provided horses by this office, or are we expected to walk?
You're expected to walk.
Okay, just checking.
This seems like kind of a trivial task. Perhaps Asako Jun is merely testing us.
Considering how early in our careers, it is not unexpected that a simple test of competence at first.
And Shiba grips his hand tightly and says, "Then we must prove ourselves." He smiles earnestly at the three of you.
That is certain. I suppose we should go and do that then.
I give a slight nod.
Huzzah!
My belongings are already prepared. I am ready for the road when you are.
As am I.
Soccer would simply pick up his staff and stab.
And as swiftly as you arrived in Kyudanasawa, so too do you leave and cross in a southerly direction towards your destination, towards the home of Isawa Akirako. Although Jordan said it in a much more un-Americanized way, so I should have him handle pronunciations for me. Okie doke, so this is a nice little map of the town. But while you guys are traveling, unfortunately the winter was filled with a overabundance of rain. So in the spring, as the sun comes out and things start to get muggy, the mosquitoes are living it up. So would everybody care to make an earth roll of 20 for me to see if you can avoid getting malaria?
I do not avoid getting
I
malaria.
won't make this. I'm not the most earthy. At least not yet.
All right, sweet. So until you guys are cured of this, your earth ring's gonna be counted as one lower.
Oh, that's good.
So you're just having a hard time of it. Everybody gets eaten up by these mosquitoes, and by the time you eventually roll into town, you are like sweaty. The lot of you are just weaving back and forth through the road. You've barely been able to keep anything down in your stomach. You're all it's your first case. You haven't gotten to the crime scene yet, and you're all pretty much like fed up with each other and your Yorkie by now. It's
Quick question.
Yes.
So, while we came down to this disease, is there any way that I can make medicine rolls to see if I can possibly cure it with some medicinal herbs I could find off the side of the road, or perhaps the medical kit that I have?
Yeah, once you get into town, are able to just like get a night's rest off the road, you'll definitely be able to make some rolls to see if you can help your boys out.
And so I used 2 of my void points at the office.
Mhm.
Can I recover those along the way? Did you want if I can't just automatically recover them, I would like to roll for meditation, because I assume at some point in the travels I'd have time to do that.
Yeah, it's been about a week, so you're definitely
Okay.
You've well recovered them. And so with that, a sweaty, staggering lot arrive at the bridge of this fair little hamlet, which I did not name and probably will not name. But there to greet you at the gate, or at the bridge as you guys prepare to enter town, is it's magistrate's notes, and there's my notes. Feel free to make any on the magistrate notes handout. Just write whatever you want to down there to keep up with all the players in the game. So as you guys arrive in town, a magistrate, Shiba-ran, gives you guys a nice crisp bow and smiles at you all very congenially. Greetings, Magistrate Sonnets. It brings me a great pleasure to have someone from of your status to look into this case. I really wasn't expecting this much interest in it. I thank you.
What was that? I didn't hear you at the end. You cut out.
Yeah, you've been having a little bit of cutting out issues that last time. I got that we're being greeted by a magistrate, but I didn't get what they said.
Oh.
Yeah, nor did I.
Drat. This very earnest and very pleased magistrate just gives you all a bow and thanks you for coming such a long way, and just throws his appreciation upon you.
Yes, of course. The office of the magistrate takes everything very seriously. These matters included.
I'm glad to hear that. And did you find your travels well?
Somewhat, I have to say. The mosquitoes seem to be a bit of a bother. What time of day is it? Did you say that?
It's fresh in the morning. You guys left before sunrise, and so you're getting here at a very good time.
We would like to be shown to our where we shall be staying. I look at the others and see if that is see if that's appropriate. See if they agree.
Simple nod out of sock.
Isawa Shujinko will nod and then say, I would also like to request that we are able to see the person that we came here for. I would like to speak with them before end of day. I simply would like to get their perspective on what has happened and get their testimony, if you would.
Oh, of course, of course. If the mosquitoes were bothering you, we have a healer in town who works wonders. I'm sure he'll be able to help you guys out with this. I'm the head magistrate of this town, so any questions on the case, I'd be happy to answer for you. And yes, I will bring you to my lady Isawa presently towards her manor, so you may greet her and have her blessings to go about her land freely. If you would all care to follow me, we shall head there.
Isawa will nod and do just that.
Yes, I'll follow.
You follow.
Excellent. So you guys walk into town, and almost immediately after meeting this guy, encounter something strange. As you guys are heading through the little dirt paths of this town towards the manor, you will see there's a congregation of peasants currently all kind of in mourning attire. mourning. They're not in their pajamas. They have paintings of what looks like a woman. It's peasant art, so they did their best to make it look like whoever they're honoring. But this is kind of a funeral procession. You see a stretcher that a lot of them are carrying, and they're currently heading towards like the town's crematory to have her body burned. And as you guys, they were taking up the road, but as they saw samurai approaching, they all just stepped to the side, stand still and look at their feet until you guys pass, and then they'll continue their train.
Actually, hold on. Before we pass, I'll look over to Shiba Ran, was it? The magistrate of the hamlet?
Yes, sir.
And then say, Shiba-san, could you tell me what happened there? Has a peasant fallen ill, or...
He sort of scratches his chin. He goes, "Oh, it looks like they're holding a funeral. If you want any more information on that, I can get my I forgot the name for the peasant police officers, so I'm just gonna say Ashigaru, even though I know that's the soldiers. If you want anything dealing with their matters, I can get the Ashigaru to fill you in. But I don't bother myself with you know."
Please do, Shiba-san. I'm interested to see if they have happened to see anything.
Cool. And while you guys,
would it be like off? Would it be uncouth for me to talk to the peasants?
not all.
I'll approach. I'll kind of maybe break off from the group a little bit and approach one of the peasants, and I will say, "My condolences," and give a very slight bow, and then say, "May I ask what has happened?"
They all
By the way,
look very.
no, believe terminology for peasant assistance to a magistrate is doshin.
Aha, Doshin, thank you. They all look very nervous to talk to a samurai for a minute, but once you they loosen you up for a moment, or you loosen them up for a moment. They the father and like mother of the child say that their daughter was murdered. Just like last week, she was murdered in her own bed.
In her own bed. Was the culprit caught?
They all shake their heads no, and kind of look towards the magistrate. They're like, spirits can't be caught.
What was that?
Spirits can't be caught.
A spirit murdered the child?
Well, spirit's been killing Lady Sawa's, her cattle and stuff like that, so it makes sense that it'd kill her peasants as well. And we've not seen her, or seen what killed our child.
What was the condition of the child when it was found?
The mom starts crying and the dad's like, she had her throat cut open.
What makes you think this was the work of a spirit?
If somebody, killed our child in our own household, we'd surely see it.
Interesting.
And will you actually
Well,
make
once
a
again-
investigation roll for me?
Sure.
It's gonna be a T and a 15.
Investigation perception.
Yes.
I will. I'll spend a void point here.
Hey, very nice. What's your honor right now
My honor is 5.5.
5.5. All right. Give yourself 4 points of honor for showing kindness to one beneath your station.
Nice.
You notice all the men are wearing sandals, but in this procession, which is just about the whole town you imagine, it's pretty small, none of the women are wearing sandals. And that strikes you as peculiar.
None of the women are wearing sandals?
That's correct.
Does that... can I make a roll of some kind to, like... I have no idea why that would be a thing. Maybe like an etiquette roll, or...
No, I don't think out of context you could figure that out.
Okay. I'll speak to the father again, and I'll say, the shoes, or the sandals. What has happened to the sandals of the females?
He tells you that someone just entered my household. He tells you that so far 3 women have been like moitered, and their sandals were like taken away from them, like their bodies were found without sandals. So none of the women wear sandals because they don't want to attract the spirit.
So 3 people have been murdered and have had their sandals stolen, and a child has been murdered?
It's their child, it's not a child. The woman was like 17.
Right. I understand. What is the time frame of these murders? When have they occurred?
They started in the winter.
Interesting. I'll see what my companions think of that. And at this point, I assume the group has continued, or have they waited for me?
Shujinko waited behind because he's interested in this.
So I'll return and relay the information, and I'm also inquired. I'm also interested in what the Shugenja think about the possibility of spirits, committing these crimes.
Odd. Most would say that peasant superstitions do hold their minds so much, but I feel as if nothing else, we should investigate the area in which these murders have happened. While there may not be much evidence now, I could always attempt to speak to the spirits or the kami there, and see if there's any information that we can glean from that.
Very well, then.
We will add that to our list. But we have traveled a long way. We should rest for the night after we speak to the lady of the house.
Haha, indeed. So you travel the rest of the way through the town, and I eventually enter into the manor of the lady, who, as soon as you guys enter the major domo of the house, greets you guys. He is... I should keep my notes open. Isawa Akamaru. He is the son of the lady, and he greets you with a nod to everybody. He is a handsome young Phoenix samurai. He dresses kind of plainly, but he wears like very colorful obi sashes like around his waist, and tied up in that sash is a lantern that's like tinted blue, basically. He greets you and welcomes you into the household, and will call his mother down so she can have an audience with you. And about the time that he mentions that a gust flies through the entire manor, and every piece of paper or anything that wasn't nailed down to the ground or the walls basically flies into the air and gets swirled about. And a room to the side kind of slides open. You see a young, embarrassed-looking Shugenja from the Kuni family, panically running around in the room, and out from that door comes a finely dressed Shugenja woman, Isawa Akirako herself. She comes out like waving some debris away from her face as dust, like all the dust in the house, has been kicked up into the atmosphere. And she whispers something in the language of the kami that you guys kind of understand, but everybody has their own language, so not completely. And all the papers and everything that were thrown about the house all start levitating and organizing themselves neatly where they belong. She's like, "Oh, so sorry about that. That girl is she has more air than she knows what to do with." And she smiles at the four of you, expecting somebody to laugh.
I'll have a disapproving look on my face.
Shujinko will have the opposite. He'll say, "There is no dishonor in not being perfect at your craft at such a young age. There is much still to learn within the world."
Wise words. I feel the same way. She claps her hands together. "Welcome to my estate. How may I help you?" And she looks expectingly towards her son. And her son goes, "These are the magistrates here to investigate the livestock murders." And she goes, "Oh, yes. I thought Shibaran," she looks at him, "completed that." And Shibaran nods his head. He says, "Yes, I came to a conclusion, but I wanted a second group of magistrates to check my work, And she goes, "All right." She smiles at you and says, "Yes, something has been killing my livestock, and I feel it will get my prized pony next. Take care of it, please." And she smiles and looks at you guys as if asking what she should do next.
Tell me, Isawa-sama, have you spoke to the spirits in the fields where your livestock has been held? Have they provided any insight to you?
Oh, and she looks at her son into the magistrate, and she goes, "No, it hasn't been come to my attention that I should be all that worried about it."
I see. You said that you wish us to check your work. What conclusion have you come to?
Shibaran bows deeply. He says, "Oh, well, my betters honor me by asking what my conclusion was, but I'm afraid, I don't want to taint your own investigation by giving you any undue contamination." And he looks like he's uncomfortable discussing this in front of present company.
Sorry, that cut out a little bit. Could you repeat that last sentence?
He looks like he's uncomfortable discussing the matter in the present company.
Shujinko will raise an eyebrow at that, but not say anything else about that matter, and then say, Tell me, we could not help but notice a peasant funeral procession on our way here. We spoke to the peasants there, and they claimed that there have been 3 murders by spirits. Do you believe that has anything to do with the investigation, or with your cattle?
4 murders, I pipe in.
She goes, "Oh no, I wasn't aware that something that heinous was going on." She looks at her son. "Did you know that my peasants were being murdered out there?" And he goes, "Yes, ma'am, I did, and we're looking into it." And hey, just to make the room a little bit more crowded, another voice chimes in. He says, "It's a terrible affair, the entire thing. Your son is not doing due diligence." And a very much older man enters the room. He is a fat, squat man wearing the mon of the Asako family. And Esau was momentarily aghast that someone would speak to her son that way, but kind of recovers because he's old and crazy. And she goes, "Oh, excuse his boisterousness, magistrates. This is my personal doctor and good friend. He's such a good friend that I have to write his name down to remember it. Asako Wanabe. He's a good friend, and he also takes care of the peasants, so he has kind of a soft heart for them." And the old man takes a look at...
Compassion is one of the virtues of Bushido.
Can you repeat that, Ken?
Compassion is one of the virtues of Bushido.
I think so too, young
That it
man.
is. It is, and of course it is the samurai duty to protect those that are lower in our station, for peasants are useful tools for our lords.
Indeed. And Isua seems like a little too sort of almost giddy to be talking about the tenets of Bushido.
And the old man kind of looks at you guys and said, "Oh, I see the lot of you have had an encounter with the mosquitoes in this territory. Are you all feeling up to snuff?"
I must confess I am not feeling the best.
And he laughs and he says, "Yep, they'll those little bastards will get you. If you like, I can whip up a home remedy for you that might treat some of the symptoms."
That would be most welcome.
Excellent.
Any assistance you could render us would be deeply appreciated.
Excellent. I have a small little hovel in town, so whenever it pleases the company, find me there and I'll be happy to provide you with hospitality. And Missy Sawa claps her hands and says, "My, aren't we all just fast friends? Is there anything else you need from me?"
May we be shown the fields where the livestock have gone missing?
Oh yes, of course. Shibaran, feel free to escort your friends around, and don't forget about the basement. And he goes, "Oh yes, of course."
And the basement?
And Missy Sawa looks away from you and kind of holds up her sleeve to hide her face. And Shibaran slides in next to you. Milady has been preserving one of her murdered ponies in the basement, so you could, see it. And after he finishes saying that, she lowers her sleeve and turns back to look at you guys.
And the pony that your prized pony that you are currently worried about, is it under guard?
Yes. All hours of the day. 2 Shiba Bushi.
What about the villagers? The peasants that have been murdered, are they under guard?
Well, I can't keep them all in stables now, can I?
I think with that, I would just. So this woman is like above me in station, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm assuming she would be quite above your station. She owns land. She's a sensei.
Yep.
I'll respond by saying, no, you should not keep them in stables. I'll look to the rest of the group and say, are we ready to be shown to the fields?
Yes.
Seems likely.
I would also like to investigate each of the peasant families, the location of each of those murders, if those files could be pulled for when we return.
Shibaran talks to one of the nearby Bushi, and he nods and he runs off towards the village to collect any information on them.
And yeah, let's get to the fields then.
Cool.
As we make our way to the field, so my understanding is the 2 Shiba that were brought with us that are kind of like our interns.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say perhaps they could take shifts guarding the village.
I would agree. I do not believe that we will be needing guarding in these fields. If something is to attack, it would not be there, I believe.
And
yes.
Moreover, we are investigating an area where there are already 2 Shiba Bushi stationed.
the two of them nod towards each other and will head off towards the village.
All right.
And
All right, on the map, where are these fields located?
they are located. Boop.
Nice and close to the manor.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And Shibaran actually takes 2 of his own bushi with you guys as well as you start heading towards the gates. And as you guys are walking, and he's leading you towards the fields, he's like, I apologize for my evasiveness in there. It's just, I requested assistance on this case for a reason. And he will gesture to the two Shiba that are escorting you guys, and he says, these 2 men have testimony on the case that I found illuminating, and I'm hoping you will come to the same conclusion as myself.
And what was your conclusion? We still have not been informed.
He'll bow and he says, oh no, it'd be entirely inappropriate for me to tell you that unless you make a courtier or etiquette roll.
Unfortunately, I must insist. You see, in order for our investigation to go smoothly, we need the greatest amount of information possible. You must trust us. We are good at what we do. We will not let your conclusion cloud our mind should we find contradicting evidence. There is no reason for you not to tell this to us.
Alrighty. It'll be a T and a 15.
I'll let you make the... Okay.
I'm not very good at etiquette.
I have 1 right.
As do I. My awareness is still only 2.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll go
Well,
ahead and use my luck to re-roll that, and then.
Yeah, because that's a low roll even for
I'll spend a void point.
even for your dice pool.
They're very available resources. But yeah, I'll re-roll and then spend a void point to get plus 1k1 to that. That's better.
He sighs heavily and says, "Very well. Though it dishonors me to say so, I believe the evidence." Can you hear me right now? It's telling me I'm not connected.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I hear you.
Though it dishonors me to say so, I believe the culprit for at least for the murdering of the livestock is my mistress's son herself, Isawa Akamaru.
Why have you come to this conclusion?
He gestures towards one of the bushi, and he says, "Well, Shiba Renjiro." Unfortunate naming. Shiba Renjiro, whilst he was, guarding the town one night, guarding the castle, he found that out in the field he saw a blue lantern out in the pastures with the animal, and the very next morning the animal was killed, and this happened on 2 separate occurrences. The conclusion I drew is that Shiba Akamaru was famously gifted a lantern by the Master of Fire, and it glows with a blue glow in the nighttime, so that would point towards that. And furthermore, he points towards the second bushi, Shiba Katai. He's on several occasions seen Shiba Akamaru slip out of the castle late at night and head into the village.
I see. And why have you not brought this to the attention of anybody? It is simply because you are not of the rank to ledge the accusation?
Yes, sir. If I brought this accusation to my lady, it might look as if I was making some sort of power play. Plus, it's not my station to accuse her son, so there we go.
I see. And, your testimony would be enough if the complaint was leveraged against someone of sufficient station. Regardless, we're going to do our own separate investigation, and if we find that that is correct, we will add our voices to the chamber. As it stands, the testimony of both yourself and Shiba Katai, or I'm sorry, Shiba Katai, would certainly assist in our own case.
It is as I hoped.
However, we still need to do our own independent investigation. I would like to go specifically to the areas where the livestock were found slaughtered.
Okie doke. He talks with the two for a little bit as they're working out, and they're like, over there, and he's like, a little to the... Okay, yeah. They find they're able to handily pick out a few of the places where animals have been killed. And lead you to them. One more time, Ken.
When was the most recent of these?
The most recent attack was probably at the end of fall. It was the cult of the crab pony.
And when did the attacks begin?
They've been happening 2 seasons. He looks at Katai like, yeah, 2 seasons.
And out of character, the peasant said their murders had begun in the winter?
Yeah.
That's what I instantly caught that as well.
Okay, I think I may have missed that part. So the peasants said that their peasants had died over the winter, correct?
That's when it started. But obviously the most recent one was within the last few days.
Gotcha. So it started in the winter, but the pony was last killed at the end of fall. That seems like the progression of a serial killer. Killing animals first, going to someone else.
Huh.
And what season is it now?
It's spring.
Spring?
Early spring.
Yeah, so it seems there has been a progression in the deaths from animals to peasants.
So it would seem. However, we still need to find out exactly what caused this. My hope is we will be able to speak to the spirits and they will provide some insight.
Mine as well. And then I sigh.
As he looks expectantly at the two Shugenja.
So have we arrived at the sites, by the way?
Yes. Since the murder of the cult, they've been keeping the, this is Katai talking, they've been keeping the horses and stuff in the stable at night.
Is the stable the separate building from the building? Can I ping?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
So, which of the spirits would you like to commune with?
Well, so the horse was murdered in the stable, correct? That's what you said? Or was it murdered in a field?
It was murdered in the field. All murders occurred at night.
All murders occurred at night. All of them occurred at the field. And the last one was late fall, so that was a couple of months ago. A couple of moons ago, essentially.
Yes.
So,
unfortunately, the ground shows no sign of it anymore. Winter has passed, and with it, evidence.
Despite that, I would like to make some kind of roll, like investigation or something.
Okay.
I'd also like to investigate the surrounding area, see if I can find anywhere where someone could theoretically come from, any clear line of sight shots to any buildings nearby or any particular roads. Just try to get an idea where somebody could have come from, if it would be, say, from the surrounding countryside, from the estate, etc., etc.
Okay. Then investigation sound good to me.
That is a good roll.
Yeah, it's pretty okay.
So beyond the picture, the pasture, a less good roll. The pasture is fenced off, but on the village side it isn't, so the cows wander into town from time to time. And there's still, the entire herd has not been killed. There's still plenty of cows out here as you guys are. It's a very funny scene of samurai investigating a murder and cows just passing by in the background. But past the fenced off area that's after this picture, the Phoeni-X lands are mainly plain, so it's a straight shot for quite a while, and even if you're not in the elevated position of the manor, you can see for quite a ways down the road. But pretty much the entire pasture is within eyesight of the village itself.
Okay.
So if you asked about a blue lantern, you feel like you might get some takers.
Okay, in that case, I'm gonna go ahead and try and commune with the earth real quick, yeah?
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and spend a void point on this. I'm gonna make one raise for clarity,
No.
essentially.
Meanwhile, I'm going to this boy.
Seems like it's in your wheelhouse.
Yep, I gently sink my fingers into the earth and then talk to the spirits, and then say, "Greetings, great spirits." Out of character, it would be like 5 or 6 months since the end of fall, right? Roughly.
Yeah. Approximately. Yeah, the earth yawns awake. It doesn't say anything, but you're aware that you have its attention.
5 moons ago, something holding blue light came here and murdered an animal. What was this thing?
The earth says ancient is its first answer.
And my free raise with void to increase.
And tell me, spirit of earth, where does this ancient thing currently hide? What direction did it come from?
Village. It gestures in its own special kami way towards the village.
I'll go ahead and then thank it for its assistance, stand up and then relay that information to everyone. Say, the earth spirits said that something ancient slew the creature here, and it came from the direction of the village. I believe that the murder of the peasants and the murder of what is coming from here are certainly correlated. I believe we should speak to the peasants of the village and find out what they know.
But before we get to those
He'll look
peasants,
over
we're gonna
at
go to the void.
Asuko-san. Yeah, he looks over to Asuko-san and then just kind of stares at him while he does magic he can't understand.
So
When they start casting these spells, I'm going to kind of go a little further away in the field, and that's when I'll do my investigating. But I only rolled an 11, so that's probably not enough to get anything. But I'll make it look like I'm doing something.
Basically
dirt.
feeling
All right, Ken, if you could refresh my memory of what commune with the void does.
it's not commune with the this sense. The description's right there because I figured it all. Basically, what ends up happening is I can feel the presence of everything living,
Mhm.
and spirits and such. I notice gaps in my.
Oh,
And
okay.
the radius with how I cast it, I put the one ray school to increase its radius to 30. Basically, within 30 feet, I can feel every living. And spirits are gaps.
Okay. Spirits and shadowland creatures. Very nice. Okay, yeah. Trying to.
It's not very long range.
Yeah. You sense no gaps in the area that you're presently in. There's nothing cloaked. Everything that's living you can see presently. So nothing's hiding itself with
He
the
opens
wind
his
con.
eyes, just kind of walks on.
You'll start walking towards the village. Is that what I heard?
I'll go ahead and follow in that direction. I've already got what I need from the spirits here.
When I see them leaving the fields, I'll stop my investigation and follow.
You look at Sheba Ron and you're like, yeah, I thought that way too. And run after them. Yeah, so you patrol your way through the town, make, minesweepering, the whole deal. And yeah, you don't detect any gaps in your vision, basically. You really, there doesn't seem to be a spirit.
Because I can keep this off as long as I don't think it.
You're breaking up, Ken.
Just says as long as I can't. So I'm walking along, concentrating, continuing to search the void around.
So I think he's trying. Is he trying to say that as long as he concentrates, his spell is up?
Yeah, but I can't really be doing anything else other than base.
Okay.
All right. Sounds.
Plus, I probably have my eyes closed.
And it's just all living things, right? It doesn't. It's not the Kehoe spell.
I can just feel everything that's alive.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, not looking for a kidnapper, so. For the moment, you really, you're keeping your eye out for any gaps or anything, but for the moment, you're not sensing anything. And so that was the fields, and you're currently inside the town. Sheba Ron still has a cow on ice that you guys can investigate. The local healer has offered to cure your earth deficiency. The Yorkie are currently compiling any information on the slain peasants. Many leads.
Perhaps we shall go to see the doctor. I'm afraid I'm feeling worse in the morning sun.
I believe that would be wise.
So as you're heading into town, you see your two Yorkie keeping things a tight lid on things, looking around. They're communicating with the peasant police force, and as they see you coming, they bow to you. Shiba Umbayashi, he's still keeping to your guy's side. He really, I don't know. He seems very interested in watching you guys work, but he's not really contributing much to the team. But you guys head towards the healer's hut, and he boisterously welcomes you inside. He called it a hut. It's an actual building. He slides his door open for you, welcomes you inside. You all slide off your sandals. He's got some nice chicken and rice cooking at the moment. And he welcomes you all inside, and will offer anybody a bowl who cares for it.
I will graciously accept and then join him.
Would this fall under the gift giving etiquette? Do I have to refuse if I would want some?
I don't think so for food. I'll make that bold decision right now.
Yeah, I'll have some as well, and try to engage him in some small talk about the village.
Cool. As he serves you guys the food, and he starts to work on his little remedy off on a shelf he's got going on. So yeah, how's the investigation going? Find any spirits yet?
We have many leads, some ins and outs and what have yous. We're still looking into it.
In fact, I was wondering if I may ask you some questions.
And he goes, oh, very well. I am an open book.
Out of character, real quick. He's a member of the Yasuko family, right?
Yes. Allegedly.
You are the healer of this village, and the one who takes care of the wounded and sick, are you not?
I am indeed. It's my pride that I can give back to the simple folk.
Truly, being able to show compassion to those less fortunate than us is one of the greater callings of Bushido. Tell me, what do you know of the peasants who were murdered recently?
And he looks very somber, and he's like, it's a terrible shame. They were all beautiful young women taken before their time, and nobody cares because they're peasant women, and it's despicable. I've really been, ever since my apprentice completed his Genpuku, I've really been trying to help give back to the people of this town, and those women were a few of them. I helped give their family medicine when I could. So yeah, I knew them all.
Did they all die in the same way, with their throats slit?
I couldn't say for sure. I haven't been privy to any autopsies, I guess.
You say that they were all young women. That is odd. Do they happen to have anything linking them? A specific hair color? Did they all happen to know the same people? Did they fall within the same crowd, or were they separate in some way or another?
He kind of blows his lips like he's trying to think, and he's like, I really couldn't say, truthfully. And he looks like he's racking his brain for any information. Actually, I think now that you mention it, they're all employees of Heisei. And he kind of points out his window. He says, she owns the, I don't know personally what the term is for it. They make cheese and butter. The cheese and buttery across the street. She was a merchant, and she hired some peasants from time to time.
I see. I will have to go and speak with them.
Can you tell us the residences of the peasants who have been murdered?
Oh yeah, of course. And he rattles off.
Okay.
The house with the blue door frame.
Yeah.
101 Osako Street. And after a brief moment pause, he will hand you guys three cups and a sake in like a sake glass. He'll hand you a glass of sake, and then he'll hand you the cure, and he'll say, take the cure, and then immediately down the sake.
Shujinko will follow the instructions.
Yeah.
Here then sake.
I'll do as he says.
It tastes really bad, but the sake tastes good. And yeah, you can.
So
go
person with the blue light, what was his name again? Out of character.
Isawa Akamaru.
Okay. And this Isawa Makamaru, or Akamaru, what do you make of him?
Very, very temperamental young man. If I'm being honest, and he leans in as if he's sharing gossip with you guys. Because he's, not a Shugenja, his mother's, passing over the lands. Like, when she dies, she's passing the lands over to, the family that adopted her, basically. So, one of her cousins, she's handing the land over to them instead of the son.
Because of his temperament?
Because he's not a Shugenja.
Shinka will raise a brow at that because that seems a little harsh.
Indeed.
We'll say.
It does. There are many other ways to achieve success in this world without being a Shugenja.
I would have to agree. There are many ways to complete your duty, regardless of whether you can talk to spirits. There is power with swords and words, all the same, just as there is power with spirits. That seems a short-sighted decision.
And he nods. He's like, yes, of course, but in her mind, her talents won them their position, and the family gave her the land on the strength of her talents, and if her son can't provide for them, then they shouldn't be taking the land away from it. I don't agree with it, but what you gonna do?
And the blue lantern at his side. What can you tell us of that?
Oh, when he was still in his in the dojo, the master of fire came to visit the school, and as the legend says, an assassin tried to get to him, but young Akamaru threw himself in front of the arrow and saved the master of fire, and he was grateful, so he gifted him that blue lantern. It has no flame, but it can glow as bright as he desires. And to my knowledge, he has never taken it off. He gives a
It
chuckle.
required a great deal of courage on his part. It is good to see that he was recognized for his upholding of Bushido.
Indeed.
Tell me,
May I ask which master of fire?
Master Isawa Tasai himself.
Grandfather.
And your
I have got
ovaries
another
kind of
question.
shrivel for a moment as you're like, if he is the murderer, my family's in debt to him.
Right.
That's awkward.
tell me, had he any contact with the peasant villagers? Had he met any of the 4 who had been murdered?
I would think so. He visits the village fairly often. I see him. He buys a lot of cheese from Hisei, I believe. Yeah, he's a very
I see.
people-friendly like myself, I'd say.
I see. I believe that should be our next destination then. Shujinko will stand up and then bow respectfully and say, I thank you for your hospitality, but duty call.
And you can all fill in whatever Earth stat you want to. You're not healed, but the symptoms are being treated, so you're halfway there with his home cure. And he'll bow to you and says, anytime I can help, let me know.
Your mastery of medicine is admirable.
From a Void Shugenja, I will tell my grandchildren of such praise.
As we step outside, I'll say to my compatriots, it is curious that the land is not being passed to Aramoro. Is that what it was?
Akimaru.
I need to get a pen and paper when we have a break. What was that?
Akamaru?
Kamaru.
We are at the 2-hour mark.
Perhaps.
Would you guys like to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I could use more coffee and a bathroom break.
Yeah, I could
that
take
sounds
5.
fine.
Okie doke. We will reconvene in 5 minutes.